Thank you for joining us today on our webinar to talk about our new program called CMOM for short, long-term, that's Cyber Incident Management for Ontario Municipalities. This is a new program for LAS. It began, we opened it up April 3rd of this year. My name is Shannon Devan. I'm the program manager of municipal risk management here at LAS. Also fairly new to the role. I can still use that because it hasn't been a year yet. I'm still a few weeks away from that first year mark. This is one of the first programs I worked on when I came over to LAS. This program was born in early 2022, late 2021. I was the risk manager for the city of Vaughan. Started to have some challenges with the cyber insurance, and the concern there, well, the money piece was a problem, and I was worried about how we were going to financially recover from a cyber incident. I was worried about where we were going to get the help from if I lost access to that cyber policy. So this program and the idea for this program was born out of that requirement for multiple municipalities that were experiencing the same thing around the same time. So we put it in RFP last summer, had that close late summer, early fall. And we were able to award that contract to ISA Cybersecurity, who I am pleased to welcome today. So without further ado, I would like to turn this over to the ISA team and turn it over to Fran.
Thanks, Shannon. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Fran D'Souza from ISA Cybersecurity, who is working with LAS to administrate the program. I'm responsible for the customers, as some of you might already know, as I have already been in touch with, and my job is to make sure I direct all the customers to the right person on the team. So with me is Al Pera, who will be one presenting today, going over the cyber threats landscape in Canada, CMO project overview, which will take 35 minutes, and then we'll have 15 minutes for the Q&A. I will pass it over to Al. Al?
Thank you, Fran. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. ISA, for those of you who know ISA, some of you may know, other ones will not. We're a proud Canadian company. We've been in business for 32 plus years. We're recognized as one of the major players by IDC, and with a vast array of clients, from small businesses to the largest enterprise businesses in Canada. We operate across the country from Calgary, Toronto, and Ottawa. And we have representation across the country. We have a couple customer endorsements here, and one of them comes from one of the municipalities where we've worked with closely and helped them throughout. The other one is from a large insurance company. But to stay within the municipalities, we presently work with about 17 to 20 different municipalities. I don't have the exact number. And regions. I personally, when I was on day-to-day sales, had a few of them myself. And of course, we're very familiar with your program, and this is endorsements from customers that work with us. We have a lot of different IR related work with some of the municipalities that we can use as a reference. I'm not going to go through this with you guys. ISA is more than just IR. We have a full service cybersecurity company, and you can go on our website and see all our services, and we'll be sharing some of it with you. Let's talk about the threat landscape in Canada. Data breaches in Canada cost about $6 million, and all these have been in our backyard, with the exception of Newfoundland and Labrador, and I'm sure all of you, and these have all been in the news, by the way. We're not telling you anything that hasn't been publicized yet. The Indigo situation was quite sensitive and impacted a lot of customers and internally their business. The military bases and power plants, and what has happened in that area is quite concerning. And Newfoundland and Labrador, which put the healthcare in Newfoundland at risk. And of course, the Maple Leaf Foods, and which cost them quite a bit of money. Canadian global ranking. Canada is third in data breach costs. We're pretty high, and the average bill increases every year since 2020. The average cost for each breach now is in 2020 was $7.3 million, and increased again by 20% in 2021. We find that, and this is something that we will work with you, because our belief is not to be like most individuals and businesses that take a reactive approach to security and IR. We want to put you in a proactive position, because being proactive, you have a much better chance of not being compromised, or if you are compromised, which they always say it's not if, it's when, you can contain it fast, not impacting your business, and reduce costs. This is one or more successful attacks. And by the way, I only have a few more of these slides, a couple more, because this is important to put in context what we're offering you, everyone. Right now, 85.7% of Canadian businesses have been impacted once or more time, which is up from 2021, which was 78%. And you see who's ahead of us there. And it's quite interesting that, you know, we're still pretty high. The annual budget, and I don't need to tell you this because all of you, I'm sure you know this, they keep going down. The pressures put on businesses to do more with less. And this is where we try to get you to be more proactive, use smart technologies, and be organized. I personally dealt with healthcare and government education and municipalities for many years, and I know the pressures that are put on budgets, and you know, hard to come by for money to pay for these. So you can see that that we spent, we used to do 12.1%. Now it's down to 11.1. What is the impact on your business? 99% of business leaders there were surveyed. They say the top three ramifications and concern is data loss, loss of customer data. That's business ramification that impacted them. Hired more security consultants, costing more money. And then signed up for more employee security training. Again, your frontline people are your best protection if they're well trained and are aware of what's going on. And then, of course, the top three personal ramifications, I don't need to tell you. Stress is one of them. We all get stressed, even we do, when we're on the support side, that, you know, the call comes in at 11 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning that something happened. It's very stressful at home and with others, including staff, you know, co-workers, staff. And strained relationships with vendors and employees, and of course, lost and strained relationship with customers. You know, when it's a business, customers tend to have a little less trust in that you can protect their private information. What are the concerns about cybersecurity? The top concerns today: having my identity stolen and from information that I share with retailers. I mean, every time you go to the store and you put on your credit card, you wondering if if somebody is going to steal this. Now, you know, you're talking about municipalities and you're not in the retail business, but you do have frontline customers that come in and pay taxes and all this other stuff related to payment side. So. Data breaches, the companies that I shop at, I'm concerned that, and having my personal data stolen through phishing and other methods. And the top worries: the next 5 years, my biometric data, fingerprint, facial impressions, and others being sold or misused. 41%. In Canada, it's about the same. Facial recognition software and monitoring software that right now it's being used without your consent, that it's being lost. And then having my generic information stolen, which relates to number 1 and 2 at the worst. Now we're going to go into what the CMON program delivers. Now, I will tell you, this is not a technical presentation. This is because I'm not doing a technical presentation. I'm doing what the program is, what the value add is, and how you can engage, and if there's any sense, and how can we help you engage, and then talk to the technical folks that can help you get to where you need to go. Our complete offering is a multi-tiered offering. We have customized response and security for security incident. you're all the same. You're all in municipalities and regions, etc. But you have some differences between yourselves. So we customize to each one of you. There may be 2 or 3 municipalities that operate exactly the same, but networks are different, etc. And we all would agree with me, but we make it as customizable as possible. Onboarding and quality assurance, and overview of preparedness. The access to threat intelligence, where access to global threat intelligence and information to aid on identifying, eradicating, and the assessment of security incidents when it happens. If it happens, you have access to a lot of information that otherwise you wouldn't have, because we're in the business. A dedicated incident response team. We have a team that's strictly dedicated. It's a department. They don't do anything else but IR, and they work with our IR customers that either are engaged or have retainers with us. A team that's focused in helping LAS response team. So you'll get to know who they are and how to access them. A team that's focused in helping LAS, including partners to prepare to respond to incident responses, and then develop and review and recommend IR playbooks. If you don't have them, if you already have them, we'll review them with you and do recommend and have recommendations if you need to make any changes. And of course, penetration testing or any kind of testing, it's if required, that you can use some of the hours that are not exhausted or that you won't. But that's not necessarily you need to do this every single time, but we look at it and say, do you need to get this done? Our team, our complete team is of this incident response team has the 3 pillars: the incident manager, or commander, I should say, the project manager, which just organizes everything and makes sure everybody is aware of what's going on and schedules meetings, documentation, etc. And then a cybersecurity technical response team, which includes a leader. And you'll see how that's deployed a bit later in the program. I'll show you. The service scope. This includes the following response scope: defined terms and conditions, which is part of the agreement that we have with LAS, which you will be made, which will be available to you, and you'll see what those are, and it's predetermined already, and we have an agreement in place that you can leverage. An IR onboarding to each partner, as I mentioned before, and it's specific to each partner. 24/7, 365 access to LAS, to ISA's incident response line. There's a hotline that if something happens, you go 1-800, and there's an email, and you'll get the response. And I'll go through the SLOs in a moment. Incident response retainer, which includes preferred rate, and this is what the LAS did for you. Your rates are much lower than the commercial rates out in the road, out in the street, which is part of, follows with the same methodology as the MGS, giving what we call best nation pricing. And then assistance for cyber incident response, which includes setup of collaboration call site and ongoing communications throughout the incident. And that's set up. You'll have what that looks like, and you'll have access to it, but once it's kicked in, it'll be well documented for you. An initial status report after 4 hours, ongoing status reporting after 8 hours, an IR advisor for any law enforcement or legal requirements, if that's the case that you require. You'll have someone who specializes in that area to make sure that works, including insurance. If you have insurance, we'll talk about insurance later on. A final incident report and closure meeting, which includes lessons learned, and then a predefined service level objectives going forward. So we make sure you don't have 2 incidents, that you stop at 1, if that happens to be the case. What is the onboarding for participating municipalities? Very simple. It's a short form that we'll share with you, and it has review, document, make necessary, and if required. And I'll go over those here. We review your plans. You may already have good plans that will reuse all of it, if not all of it. We'll try to understand, and we'll understand your methodologies, policies, procedures, and incident handling if you already have that, including law and enforcement and media advisory. And we'll review that with you if you don't already have it. If you don't have any, will help you create that. And that's part of the program that we will figure out what the costs are, et cetera. We document the chain of command, which is very important in these things, and who are the stakeholders, so we don't, something does not get missed and later on say, oops, somebody turned something off and now we can't get those logs. We make necessary recommendations if as required. Obviously, if we just said the review, and this is an ongoing process after the onboarding. It doesn't stop the first time. If required, we run through a mock-up incident to ensure that all the documents and it's accurate and process is actionable. And we may have to do that, and we'll discuss that with you. If you already have one, we may only have to discuss it and not do a mock-up, because if there's a mock-up incident, then time needs to be allotted for that. And then, of course, you'd get that 1-800 hotline number and the authorization codes to engage with the DFIR team. That's what we call it. For an incident on site that we need to send staff on site, it starts all the same, 15 minutes. Once you call, within 15 minutes or less, you'll get a call back, and the lines are open. And 24/7, the lines are open to begin the procedures and triage, and you start that at that particular moment with someone over the phone. An on-site engagement will start in the GTA within 4 hours. We will have someone on site if required. We may decide that it would with you that we don't need anybody on site just yet, because it makes no sense. We can do a lot more remotely and it'll be a lot faster. But if we need somebody on site, our SLO is to have someone on site in the GTA within 4 hours. Outside of the GTA, 8 hours, and then some remote areas, it needs to be discussed, because if it's Northern Ontario, it's going to be difficult to get somebody there within 8 hours. It may take a lot longer if need be, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop talking to you. You have the open line with the incident manager, the commander, everyone, so we continue to work with you. The next one is for remote. If we decide together that a remote response it's all that's required, it's something that's not it's not a significant breach, it's something small, we just want to make sure to understand and contain it quickly, we do it all remote. And if it's remote, we get everybody on, we have everybody online and within 2 hours, not 4, because we can get that, doesn't matter where you are, we can get that going. Our methodology is very simple. It's preparation, we identify, we contain, we eradicate, we do recovery, and then we do lessons learned. So the phase of preparation, it's part of the planning, the training of the staff, and it's part of what we say the proactive side of the business. That's way before. That's from day one. The identification phase, and that's to determine whether there's a deviation from the operations if an incident happened. And that happens if an incident has occurred, and we start, and then we go to if an incident has occurred, our number one objective is to contain it. Let's find out where it is. Let's contain it, because you have a business to run, and we can't compromise that side. Tomorrow, if you're, when you're retail and that happens overnight, you need to open the doors to the public next day. Okay. Of course, the eradication, we need to make sure that there's nothing left, and we eradicate. And our folks are professional to work with you to make sure that there's nothing, no remainders left behind. There's no corners that we have not looked, if you want to use that analogy of physical. And of course, the recovery is very important. In this recovery, we evaluate and ensure that the integrity of your data is correct, that the integrity of your systems are back up, and you can continue to do business. Then, of course, there's lessons learned, which to ensure that we improve on what we've done together, and you are ready to not be compromised again. IR preparedness and planning. It's basically the first step is creating a cybersecurity incident response plan. You may already have one. We already talked about that, and it outlines the approach and who's who in the zoo and what we're going to do and the management. And I'll go to the bottom here. It includes administration and training, because if you do a preparedness plan and you set it, you don't forget it. And all the other stuff is the same as what we've done with everything, what we do with everything else. But to me, these are the two most important steps, because you can, you'll do a preparedness plan and you'll do a great job doing all these first 4 steps. And then the last one, it's left to somebody who does not exist. And that's a problem, because it'll be stale and out of date. And we make sure that this is where I said earlier that we don't onboard you and say, okay, that's it, forget it, we're done. There'll be what I call cadence touches by not only the sales team, but the IR team, to make sure that everything's still the same, nothing has changed in your environment, and the administration and training is good. Here's the important part for everybody. What does it cost and what is it? Level 1, 20 hours, level 2, 50 hours, level 3, 80 hours. And these are all discounted rates. Of course, the project proposal and the engagement at the beginning to see, do we fit the program? Do we want to jump in the program? There's no charge for that. It's like a sales call, if you will, and we'll bring in some of the technical folks that will explain the statement of work and explain any other technical questions, analyze how you guys are doing and how you're going to integrate with a plan. And then if you need additional ad hoc hours, this is the rate, $320 an hour for the technical folks related to IR. Okay, very specific, not additional services, which is different rates. They're cheaper. And then a project manager is $150 an hour. Cybersecurity, insurance, and incident response services and the benefits. Some people say, why should I have a cybersecurity incident plan if I have insurance? Well, they're not mutually exclusive, or and I'm not here to tell you you should not have insurance or you should not have one or the other. They both serve a purpose. The cyber insurance protects you legally in case of a ransomware, and could pay out some if God forbid. And by the way, we've never had a customer that had to pay out, and we're proud of that. Okay. So, but it does not replace a well-planned incident response and preparedness service plan. And I highlighted that because it's like brushing your teeth. If you go to the dentist and you do not brush your teeth every single day, and sometimes twice a day, and you should, when you go back to the dentist, you'll have cavities and you'll have problems. This is the same thing. You still have to go to the dentist and you still have to brush your teeth. So the proactive and well-documented and predetermined set of procedures will have these for the incident response, preparedness, and planning, and then a triage and classification of what are the services that you maybe should monitor. What do you monitor? What should we monitor? Should we monitor anything? And then the initial response is so critical that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And then the post-breach assessment to make sure that that does not happen again. These are the services that are so important. Insurance will not do those things for you, but they'll serve one purpose. Okay, I hope I've sort of answered that, and I'll be more than happy to answer any more questions. The goal of an incident response is very, very simple. Okay, is to make sure that your business is prepared and you minimize incidents to your business. Your goal is to stay in business. Our goal is to make sure that we have a plan in place, and we have procedures in place together that outlines how your organization should operate in case of an incident, and also should protect themselves against having an incident. As I said, the preparedness is so important. That's all it is, really. The added value of this program, use of retainer dollars, this is not, again, unlike insurance, what you pay, and every year you have to pay again, which you should, and that's how it works. When you pay us and you buy a retainer for IR, and I'll read a couple of these things here, and that's for folks that buy the block of time, paid up front, 1 year contract at a time. The renewal customers can use leftover hours within the first months of the renewal contract if for any IR related work. That means terms and conditions apply. What does that mean? That means that you buy 20 hours this year and you didn't use any hours. And then when you renew next year, you have 6 months that you can use 100% of the hours. Not the hours. I said hours, the dollars, not hours. I have to correct myself if I said dollars at the hours at the beginning. This is dollars, and there's a reason why, and I'll explain at the end. So if you've got 20,000 or 10,000, whatever the amount is, and you can take that and you can apply it towards services. And I'll show you now. We have a slide that talks about what services, and it's against projects. And the rates for those will be different. That's why it's dollars, not hours. And for the most part, those projects are cheaper than the $320 an hour. So you got more value. Now, if a customer wants to use during the contract year, we only allow them to use only 60% of the hour of the hours, or the dollars. I keep saying hours, of the dollars. And the reason for that is that we don't want you to use all the dollars in your initial year, and then you have an incident and you don't have enough there, and it takes a while for you to get a purchase order in place and get things done. So we would recommend that you don't use it during the contract, and you wait till the following year, and then within the first 6 months you have a whole bunch of projects you can do. Added value and project examples. I'm going to read what the exceptions are. I'm not going to tell you what you can get, what you need to buy them, because you're going to get this presentation. You also, Fran has a document that shows that that's what you can use. There's some minor variations of some of the penetration tests, TRAs. Do you want to do either one of them? We probably, the team will probably say yes, but that's role-based consulting is not part of it. So staff augmentation, managed services, or product resale, you cannot use these dollars towards that. It needs to be for IR related tasks. I am open for questions.
I don't see any questions. If you have any questions, feel free to put them into the question and answer section. Thank you very much, Al. That was really good, really informative. Did want to mention too that if moving into one of the 3 levels that you saw on the screen wasn't something that fit into your plan for this year, please don't hesitate to reach out, because we can also discuss purchase of block hours amongst a couple of municipalities if that's something that works for the group. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind. So here is a question, Al. In your experience, does having a plan assist with obtaining cyber insurance coverage and or affect your rates?
Good question. Yes. Very shortly. Some insurance, here's my experience that I've had with it. Some insurances mandate that or require that you have an assessment done. You go through and there's some minimum basic requirements that they have, and they give you a list, which is less strenuous than what we recommend you do. So when you do, the second part of the question is when you have an IR plan in place, that you can give them what we've gone through and what we checked off, and that usually allows you to go just to get signed up. And my experience has been that if you don't have an IR in place, it's more expensive. So I'm not sure what kind of discounts you get because I don't buy that insurance. But the short answer is yes, it does help you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, because as we know, each insurer is different. Right now, we're aware of 4 markets for Ontario municipalities, but they each have their own questionnaire and underwriting guidelines.
I'd like to make a comment about insurance. We became aware in the last 6 months, this is starting late last year, that there's been a few insurance companies that have gotten out of the cyber insurance, mm-hmm. which is quite concerning. And we can share those with you. I don't have the list, or maybe Shannon has the list or knows who they are. They just got out of it because there's been a flurry of claims. And if you have a claim and if it's expensive, your rates are going to go up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that is something, unfortunately, the municipal space has been dealing with on other lines of coverage as well. But cyber's just, it's been such a roller coaster for cyber, and it's a relatively new coverage. So, but this program here, I think, is really answers that question about who do we call if something happens, because it seems you can't go a week anymore without opening whatever your news source is and hearing about some kind of new cyber related incident.
Does this, does this make sense for your for the plans that you have? Is that something we like to hear from you guys if there's any minor adjustments that should be done? Shannon just mentioned that you can buy a block of hours and pool that amongst yourselves. Some smaller municipalities that are close to each other, or they don't even need to be close to each other, to be totally candid. That if that makes more sense to have, 2 or 3 pooled together and buy a pool of hours. And other suggestions that they may have of how to improve the program, we're open to suggestions.
The question, Al, is does this include training or tools for municipalities to use to help employees be more aware of potential methods of incidents such as phishing?
There's training available, and it could be part of the program. Security awareness is not part of the package, but we can certainly make that as part of what we do. Now, there's training for your operators and analysts, for your security people, definitely. The end user training, it's something that we can definitely make part of the program. It'll be, as an example, we have 2 types of training, and this is something. There are the programs available from they're software driven and they're hosted for the most part, where you send out campaigns and you get scores back, and it's part of HR, And then there's another type of service that we have, and that is very specific, where we have a trainer do, and it's all virtual, so people can attend, and they'll do I believe that's 3 one-hour sessions, and they're spread apart, and they go through what, when, how, and why not, and why for, etc., around the behavior and the training of end users, and that can be made available within the program.
Okay. Excellent.
So in other words, let me clarify that a little more. So you buy a block of time, and you want that type of training, we will give you what the SLOs are, or the SLWs are on that, so you'll see what you're getting, and then it says, well, that's going to be X amount of dollars. We can use that as part of the 60% within the year, or the following year you can use it part of the 100%.
Excellent. Thank you, Al. If you have any questions or you want to set up a meeting, just send us a note. You can email myself, Shannon, send us a note, and we'd be happy to get something in the calendar to further discuss the program with you. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Francesca. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Good afternoon. Bye, guys.